Yes, Sibling Ties, family and friends. We are back at it again. The Sibling Ties. The Sibling Twins, excuse me. The Sibling Twins, we are at it again. And listen, I found baby sis. We dug her up from under a rock. I know y'all haven't seen her in like 3-4 episodes. We found her. We got her. We can take those pictures off the back of the milk cartons. She's here, y'all. But she's not alone. We also have a special guest with y'all. We have Mr. Frank King, a person who implements comedy within how he helps people get through their depression. You know what I'm saying? So, Mr. Frank King, you know the question that my sister had for you, and the question I believe the guest will have for you: how do you implement comedy within depression?
Well, it's worse than that. It's actually comedy and suicide prevention. Yeah. So, a couple of things. If you think about the world's first comedian, was the court jester. Court jester's job to speak truth to power on behalf of the powerless with humor. I believe I speak truth to the power of mental illness on behalf of those often powerless in its grip with humor. I believe where there's humor, there's hope. Where there's laughter, there's life. That nobody dies laughing. And depression and suicide run in my family. Called generational depression and suicide. My grandmother died by suicide. My mother found her. My great aunt died by suicide. My mother and I found her. I was 4 years old. I screamed for days. And if you are already hardwired for depression and suicide, and you are that close to an actual suicide, the chances you will seriously consider taking your life later in life go up. And in April of 2010, after Chapter 7 bankruptcy, losing everything my wife and I worked for 25 years, I learned what the barrel of my gun tastes like. Spoiler alert for the audience, I did not pull the trigger.
There you go.
A friend of mine came up after one of my keynotes. He goes, "Hey, man, I got me didn't pull the trigger." I go, "Hey, man, could you try to sound slightly less disappointed?"
Yeah, no doubt.
So that's why a comedian. That's why I'm the mental health comedian.
I respect it. The one thing I understand is that it's different things that help different people out. You know, like if you was to get hurt, you know, it's different therapists and different procedures to help you get through the recovery of a procedure. And you know, I do understand that comedy could be one of those things. Is it hard for you to go out and you know, do like a routine though? Because it's like a fine line that you have to like, you know, dance along within that.
I make my living surfing the crazy. No, it's I don't tell jokes. I tell funny personal stories.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, like you know, spoiler alert, I didn't pull the trigger.
Right.
Yeah, now and I still do stand up. I just did 2 weeks on a cruise boat in the Caribbean, just doing stand up. But I integrate humor because you know it's a tough topic, dark, sad. So if you give a little comic relief every so often, plus it keeps them off balance. I have my first TED talk. I said to the audience, I went to the TED.com website. I looked up suicide, see how other people handle the topic, and I figured there'd be dozens of talks because there are millions of talks on TED. And there were 3 talks on suicide. And then it hit me, well, duh, if you're really good at suicide, you're not going to be recording a TED talk. So that's where the funny comes from, is just situational. And it makes the information go down easier.
Right. I agree with you. How long have you been doing it? How long have you been like using that form of, you know, therapy with? And did it start with that, or was it like something else and it led to that?
No, I started comedy the day after Christmas, 1985. I said to my wife, I've been doing open mics till that point. I said to my girlfriend, now my wife of 35 years, I'm going on the road to be a stand-up comedian. Do you want to come along for the ride? Figuring she'd go, oh, hell no. And she said, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yep. Gave up our apartment, our jobs, put everything we couldn't put in storage in my little Dodge Colt, and we hit the road. And she and I were on the road for 2,629 nights in a row nonstop.
Oh, wow.
Yep, and worked with and lived with, because back in the day, they used to put comics up in a 3-bedroom condo. They called it the comedy condo. And so I worked with Ellen and Seinfeld and Dennis Miller and Foxworthy and Ron White, Steve Harvey, Adam Sandler, Kevin James, pretty much anybody who's anybody nowadays in comedy. I mean, older comics. And then did some radio. Got hired by a radio station in Raleigh, North Carolina, my old hometown, to be a morning show host in 1993. In April, I got fired in July of 94. I took a #1 morning show and drove it to #6 in 18 months. One of my proudest accomplishments. A friend of mine said, you didn't drive it in the ground. You drove that thing in the middle earth. Yeah. Then I made the jump to corporate comedy, after dinner, after lunch, the rubber chicken circuit. And I discovered very quickly, because people ask me, what's the difference between a club comic and a corporate comic? Well, corporate comic, A, has to be clean, and B, the difference is about $5,000 a day plus travel.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm no math major, but that made a lot of sense. So then I did that from 95 to 2007, 8-ish, when the recession hit. Bookings dropped off 80% practically overnight. That's how we got in financial trouble. And once the meetings industry came back, people were conferencing again. Meeting planners said, Frank, we love you. We can't pay you that kind of money anymore just to be funny. Have to teach our audience something. That's what speakers do. They have takeaways and learning outcomes and action items. And I'm like, what in the world am I going to teach? And then I read a book by a woman named Judy Carter. She's a friend of mine, called The Message of You. The Message of You, turning your life into a money-making speaking career. And I went into the book thinking I got nothing, and she kind of walks you through the process. About halfway through, I thought, oh man, I do have something. I could speak on suicide prevention. I mean, because I have 2 mental illnesses, and there are more nuts in my family than in a squirrel turd. And if I just got some training in suicide prevention certification, which I have, then I could keynote on it. My second challenge was, I've been a comic for 2.5 decades. How do I prove to these people, meeting planners, that I can do something serious? Well, let's do a TED Talk. And I did a TED Talk on suicide prevention. And nobody knew I was depressed and suicidal until I stepped on that TED stage and came out of the mental health closet as depressed and suicidal.
Oh, wow.
Yep. Wow. And that was the first TED Talk. I got 2 invitations following that for 2 more, and I applied and got 4 more. I've got 7 TEDx Talks. I think I have the most TEDx Talks of anybody in the world.
Oh, wow. There you go. Congratulations with that. There you go.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, all right. So, I think we 2.5 years removed from the pandemic. How was it going through that at a time where you were probably needed the most, but you couldn't do what you do to help everybody? How was that time frame for you?
Well, a couple of good breaks. One, Zoom.
There you go. Right. Exactly.
Do the keynote virtually. Yeah. And I created a keynote called Social Distancing and Staying Sane. Don't worry so much about your mentally ill friends. Because I got together with some of my mentally ill friends at the beginning of the pandemic and realized very quickly that all my high functioning mentally ill friends, we all have a self-care plan. Because we wake up in an uncertain world every day, whether there's a pandemic or not, and we have to figure out a way to get out of bed every morning. So I did these keynotes essentially for neurotypical people, teaching them how to create a self-care plan, because there are a lot of depressed and anxious people during the pandemic, and they didn't have a self-care plan. And I opened it up by going, look, because people would ask me, Frank, you have mental illness, how are you handling the pandemic? Here's the deal. I live with depression and chronic suicidal ideation. I've had 2 aortic valve replacements, a double bypass, a heart attack, and 3 stents. I lost to a duck puppet on Star Search. This is not the worst thing that ever happened to me. So I figured, and then a friend of mine who's a business coach said to me, Frank, I bet you're teaching people to get a TEDx for free, and that's got to stop. She said, let me send you a friend of mine. He builds your website for that. Start charging for it. And so that was March of 2020. And so I've got 30 clients now who want a TEDx talk. That and the virtual keynotes saved us. So thank goodness for Zoom. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, Lord.
Definitely. Thank goodness for Zoom. It's crazy, right? Because you say that depression is hereditary, right? Because me and my sister actually talked about that on a later episode about how she deals with depression. I don't. She deals with depression and it's kind of heavy on her. I don't. So I kind of did my research on how is it hereditary? Do you have the breakdown on how is it that it was learned from generation to generation within your family?
Well, trauma can also be passed on from generation to generation.
Right.
And it's not always in your DNA. There are people who become situationally depressed. Bankruptcy, divorce, whatever. I have major depressive disorder. And by definition, it's generally not situational. I've been most depressed and suicidal at some of the best times in my life. It's like a wheel with a flat spot. It just comes around every now and then.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And my sister has depression and anxiety, but no suicidality. And I've got depression and suicidality, no anxiety. And pretty much everybody in my family has something, except one cousin who doesn't have any mental illness, and he doesn't have the family high cholesterol, and we hate him with a passion. No.
Right. Oh,
yeah,
wow.
he must have gotten from his dad. His genes must have come in.
That guy's adopted. He's not even really part of the family. But but I don't want to hog it up, Sharon. But you got anything you want to say? Because I know you had a lot that you wanted to say before we even got to this point.
I did. So like you said, yeah, I suffer from depression and anxiety. And like you said, I wake up some days and it can be like the happiest day of my life, but I don't feel it. Like I don't. People can. I could do something like, you know, make an accomplishment and people will congratulate me, and I don't feel like, I don't know. But what I'm gonna ask you is, did like what you're doing? Does it make you like feel better with your depression, or does it make you like? Not like, okay, so sometimes me helping people, it kind of pushes mine to the back and it's like, okay, I don't have it for a moment, but I know it's still there. So does that do that for you? Like when you're out there making your jokes stuff, does it make you feel like a little better when you're doing it?
Well, I have more good days than bad, and in part because I have a 5-point self-care plan: diet. I'm on the keto diet and an intermittent fast. I actually am a master's bodybuilder. I just did my 3rd contest in July.
Okay.
And that's part of my, going to the gym. And so it's diet and exercise. Go to the gym every day. Good night's sleep is restored. Right. What worries me, guys, is that nowadays people brag about how little sleep they get by on. And that, you got at some point recharge the batteries.
Right.
So diet, exercise, good night's sleep, meditation twice a day, usually after a meal. It's a guided kind of thing. It takes me down, brings me back up at the end. And a little bit of medication that it doesn't make me giddy, but it does take the edge off.
Okay.
And mine's a cycle, 72 hours. And people ask what's that like? I said, well, if I'm cycling down, it feels like I've strapped on a pair of those old lead-filled boots, the old the divers, the deep sea divers.
Yeah.
Right. It's like somebody's turned up the force of gravity. But I know that my cycle is 72 hours. So I just if I can't get out of the bed in the morning because of that, I use something called gamification. What I really want to do is lie in bed and watch the next season of whatever is on Netflix. Over my head.
Right.
But I make a to-do list, an actual physical to-do list of 6 things. And the game is, as soon as I scratch off number 6, I don't care if it's 3 in the afternoon, broad daylight, I can go back to bed, pull the covers over my head, and binge watch, the next season of Ted Lasso or whatever it is.
Right.
That's gamification. With the gym, I make a deal with myself because it's 25 minutes away. If I get to the gym all dressed out, ready to go, all I've got to do is walk in the building, do 1 rep of 1 exercise, I can turn around and go back home. I've never done that. Once I get there, you can knock out an hour and a half, but the option is there. And I can, if I want to, exercise that.
Right.
So it's depression, a friend of mine said, is only a visitor. It comes and goes from it varies how long it stays depending on who you are.
Right.
And I used to say that I fight it, but that's inaccurate because fight implies I can somehow win. And I can't.
Right.
So there's a martial art called Aikido, where rather than oppose your opponent's force, you blend with it. And you just sort of you move with them, and that's what I try to do with depression is that's why I said surfing the crazy, ride that wave, rather than try to fight the tide with a broom. Just ride the wave because I know in 3 days it's going to crest and I'll be fine. So that's kind of how I handle my depression.
Okay.
So what you doing, I'm pretty sure that you receive a lot of backlash because of from the outside looking in, people that probably never even seen you perform, never seen you do anything. If they just see the title of what you do, you probably receive a lot of backlash with that. Was that received like early on? Was that something that you had like fight through to get to, where you at to helping people, or in the beginning was it just smooth selling to get you to where you had to get to?
No, it's been well received almost always.
Okay, that's cool. Wow.
Yeah, two things happen every now and then. One person every now and then says to me, joking about depression and suicide.
Right.
But A, it's not, I don't joke about it. I tell
Right.
personal stories. And B, here's the deal in comedy. You can make jokes about any group to which you belong.
I got you.
So I don't know if you know this, but you're Black.
Right.
So
just found out last week.
Yeah. Pass the mirror. Oh,
yeah,
Black.
Right.
But you can make jokes.
Right.
And your sister's a woman. She can make jokes about women. I mean, you can make jokes like that at your peril.
I got you.
So that's A. And B, every now and then somebody says to me, wait a minute. You're not a psychiatrist or a psychologist. You're not even a therapist. What qualifies you to talk about suicide prevention? At which point I go, well, I can tell you what the barrel of my gun tastes like.
Mm-hmm.
And because, you know, clinicians come at it from an academic, technical perspective. When I stand on stage and tell the audience, I can tell them what the barrel of my gun tastes like. The 25% of the people in the audience who have a mental challenge, you can see them lean forward.
Yeah, right.
And the people who are neurotypical lean back. Oh dear God.
Right.
So yeah, it's. I was on a college campus once, University of Montana Billings. Man, you think makes Salt Lake City look diverse. I had trouble finding black licorice. Anyway, the kids were driving me around town because it was a show that was open to the public. So we're doing some radio stations. And the nice young guys at the college, they said, look, Frank, you know, comedians get a hard time on campus now because people, you know, they get a toe stepped on, they get offended, you know, they get triggered. I said, A, I don't want to hear the word trigger out of anybody's mouth who hasn't actually come close to pulling one. And B, if I was a comic on a college campus, I would be very careful. I would toe the line. But I'm on campus talking about suicide prevention. Three college students die every day of suicide.
Ooh.
I'm on campus talking about suicide prevention. I'm there to save lives. And if they're offended, here's my feeling about that. F them. I'm here to save lives. I don't care.
Right.
Yeah, I don't care about their toes. I don't care, you know, you're not woke. Yeah, that's right.
Right.
Yeah, so that's the beauty of being a speaker, not a comedian. I get paid for those opinions. I get paid to be controversial like that.
Right. We definitely do appreciate it, man.
Exactly.
Exactly. Look, you done won my sister over. Because when we first did this, I'm like, yo, I'm super excited about seeing this dude, Frank King. You know, you're a comedian. For people that don't know, my little sister does know, you know what I'm saying? I have done comedy, like, you know, sparingly when I was younger, like spot to spot. She's seen me do it. So when it comes to comedy, I love anything comedy. That's how come I was super excited about meeting you. Her thing was comedy and suicide. How did that go together? I cannot wait to talk to this guy because I got questions. So it sounds like you won her over, you know what I mean, with what you said. And we definitely do appreciate it, man. And I was super excited. Now that I'm done going through this, I'm definitely going to like look it up. And are you on YouTube or anything like that? Or
yes, 4 of my TEDx talks so far up on YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Wow. That's
yeah.
cool.
And I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll send you. I'll email you to make sure you have it for the show notes. I'll send you links to 4 of them so that if somebody likes the show and wants to hit the link,
right?
Then I'll put the website address, phone number. Oh, put the phone number in the show notes because when I do a keynote, I put my phone number up on the screen, cell phone. I tell the audience, look, if you're suicidal, call the Suicide Prevention Lifeline, which is now 988, 3 digits, 988. Or if you're younger, maybe a millennial or Gen Z, there's a text line.
Right.
Send the word help to 741-741. Now, if you're not suicidal, just having a bad day, call a crazy person. Here's my cell. And people call every now and then.
Yeah, wow. I was about to say, is your real cell phone number?
Yes. A kid called me one day and he goes, I can't believe this is your real cell number. I go, dude, how bad would the karma be?
I was like, wow.
I go, let me make it worse for you. Hold, please. And I said, and here's, you know what we should make the on hold music? This is really dark. Make the on hold music. Another one bites the dust.
Oh, wow. Yeah, right. you are caller 100. You'll get back to like, yo. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That would be crazy to go through. But most definitely, man. So you said you got a course to help people get the TED Talks. It's weird because I want to get my sister into like a TED Talk. I feel like she got something to say that'll help people out.
Well, we have two choices. We have an online course. It's about 4 hours, broken into 10-minute video vignettes, all the curriculum. That's $247. And then my live coaching is $5,997.
Okay.
So it's expensive. It's when people ask me, so what does a live coaching cost, Frank? I go, are you sitting down?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, I definitely appreciate it. You know what I'm saying? That anything else you got something to say, Shammer?
Oh no, that was it.
You good? So are you okay? Are you okay now?
I'm good.
All right. Yeah. Just make sure you are.
Oh, well, and you can buy a book even cheaper. There's a book called Talk Like TED. Talk Like TED.
Right.
Okay. Audible, ebook. There's a printed version. Talk Like TED, and it's kind of a step-by-step how to get a TED Talk. So for probably $20, you can go through the book and begin sending in applications for TED Talk. Okay. And they're all about diversity. So you have a leg up because you're a woman and you're Black. They're not going to have 12 6-foot-tall brown-haired white guys.
Right.
Right.
And listen, if you told me you used to be a man or something, that'd be even better.
Oh yeah, you already got it. You already got the thing set up.
Exactly.
But most definitely, listen, we don't want to take up too much of your time. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed just the journey for you to get from where you started from to here and to continue on. The last question that I got to finish this off with you is, what is the end goal? Where do you want to be at? Like, what is Mr. Frank King want to be remembered for? Like, what is the pinnacle?
Two things. My daily goal is to save one life a day, and my audacious shoot the moon goal is this: Frank, how come you're not speaking on suicide prevention anymore? Well, people stopped killing themselves. I know that's a bit of a
No, it's not. You know why I say it's not? Because that's my little sister said that her goal is that she can eliminate depression. So sometimes you gotta shoot for the moon, and I like it. I do. I enjoy it, especially when it's helping other people.
Even if you, and by the way, that's one of the things I recommend oftentimes in a self-care plan is do something nice for somebody else, because people with mental illness tend to spend too much time in their own head. So if you're doing something nice, it takes you out of your head, and you're doing something nice. And all
right, I enjoy.
I
love
agree.
It. Yes. So, Sibling Ties, friends and family, we have another extension to the family. Mr. Frank King is another extension to the family. Like he said, he's going to hit me with the links so that you guys can watch his TED Talks. We'll put that in the description on the YouTube channel. And Mr. Frank King, in the future, if it's available that we can talk to you again, would that be an option?
Yes, and if you're just listening to the podcast and not watching the video, I am the white sheep of this family. So I just want you guys to
know. just in case if you didn't know. Yeah, I mean, because you probably couldn't pick it up with audibly, but it is what it is. Yeah. I mean, we accept everybody how they are, man. Thank you again, Mr. Frank King. We enjoyed it, man. And Sibling Ties, friends and family, until we meet again, we are out of here. Peace, y'all.
Peace.
Things not to say to somebody who is brave enough to tell you they are depressed. Don't say, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Oh, come on, turn that frown upside down. Yeah. My personal favorite, you just need a checkup from the neck up. If I hear that again, I'm going to throw up. Yeah, things to say to someone who's brave enough to say to you they're depressed. I would start with this. Are you depressed or are you depressed? The depressed meaning clinical depression. If they're clinically depressed, I would say this. You are not alone. I am here for you. It's not your fault. You're neither crazy, lazy, or seeking attention. I understand that it is not a character flaw or a moral failing. It is an illness. There is treatment available, and I will help you get it and mean it. Second, the last thing is ask them what sort of thoughts they're having. If they're having thoughts of suicide, here's what not to say. Not say, come on, you got so much to live for. You're just looking for attention. You won't do it. Nobody who talks about it ever does. Oh. Here's what to say if somebody has thoughts of suicide. Don't do it. Trust me, it works. Second, Do you have a plan? Yes or no? And if they have a plan, what is your plan? And the more detailed the plan, the more dangerous the situation. And if somebody tosses that grenade into your lap, that's what that slide is for. There is help available. And the suicide app is actually an iPhone app. Here's what I hope we've done today. We started a conversation, giving permission to people to give voice to their feelings about depression and suicide without recrimination, and begun to create a common pool of knowledge in which those who suffer from depression and those who love them can swim.